Good morning and welcome to Escape to Nature, and you are with myself, Alex, and we of course are starting this morning in Okakuyo. And at the moment, it is a rather busy start. We've got 2 wildebeest, some springbok, and there was a rather large herd of zebra that were about earlier as well. So we're just waiting to see what else may transpire here. But of course, it's good to have a busy start here anyway. So nice to know about all of this. And of course, just pick up on any of the bird audio that is about. We do have the Namakwa sandgrouse that are around as well. We have heard them vocalizing too. And I'm sure the Cape Crows will be around as well. So just waiting to see what all happens. And of course, just taking in the wonderful scenes and sounds of Okakuyo. Of course, if you have joined us, this is a live and interactive experience. So if you do have any questions or comments, things you wish to know about, please do send those through. So if you are watching on our app or on the website, you can register to ask those questions or let me know what you'd like to see or even chat about. Also, if you are watching on YouTube, please do subscribe so Wild Earth can notify you of all the other amazing content we have. And be sure not to miss out on any of the other moments. But of course, as I said, a fantastic start. It is rather clear here. Not too much bird audio at the moment. I did pick up on 1 or 2 European bee-eaters. And it did sound like some guinea fowl around as well earlier. But let's wait and see. We'll just take in some of the fantastic sights and sounds. So I did just mention it is rather clear, and it is time for us to have a look and see what the weather is doing for today. So you'll be able to pick up on a couple of those blacksmith lapwings. And so you are chirping at the moment. A couple of European bee-eaters about. And of course, we are just watching the springbok and wildebeest as they mill about. So rather fantastic at the moment. Nice to have a busy start here. Nice just to enjoy Okakuyo for what it is. Good morning, Nina. Thanks so much for tuning in. And no doubt it will be an action-packed show. And we've still got a bit of action at the moment. A couple of springbok at the waterhole right now. And that at the water edge. And that wildebeest just moving off. So I think that is going to start to head off. We'll just have to probably sit and wait. But we do have the springbok. We do have the European bee-eaters that are flittering about. And let's just wait and see what else may transpire. There's also that audio of the very lovely Namakwa sandgrouse. So let's just wait and see what happens. And there's that second wildebeest slowly moving towards what I think would be its friend. 2 of them probably milling about together as well. We've got a lovely springbok that's right in front of us at the moment. And it doesn't seem like there's much wind either. So quite a cool little silhouette that's here at the moment. It is rather bright. But a very fantastic start to today. It's always nice when we are frequented with many things. It's always nice just to sit back and enjoy the waterhole for what it is. And of course, doing what we do at waterholes, just waiting to see what happens. Hi, Oliver. Thanks very much for your question. And two spring to mind. One was one evening with a male lion and a black rhino. And there was quite an interesting interaction between the two of them. Of course, the black rhino being the out-and-out winner, far heavier than that lion. And that lion definitely moved out of the way. And the other one was rather sad. And it was that same male lion who we suspect had contracted anthrax and had an interaction with a breeding herd of elephant that were around. But eventually he was carted off by the veterinary services. I'm not too sure what did transpire after that, but that's probably the two that do spring to mind. Of course, there's always something interesting, though, that does go on here. It's been fantastic to note over the last few weeks the Abham storks, them coming through in large numbers. So it's always fantastic to see different things. Of course, kind of a seasonal occurrence. It's always nice to have the migratory birds around as well. And I also enjoy some of the area specials. So the black-faced impala being endemic to the area and into southern Angola. And of course, the Angolan giraffe, also fantastic. Black rhinos, and of course the ghosts of Etosha, the elephants of the area. Always fantastic to see them. So it is rather awesome. So a really fantastic place to be able to sit and wait and watch and see, because there is always such awesome things. And a number of other interesting things that do occur here, of course, when we watched the oryx wade into the water. That's always quite cool. The springbok do it as well. And we've also had very large numbers of zebra over the last 2 months or so. It is kind of dwindling at the moment, but that's seasonal movement as well. And there's days where you see hundreds of the zebra. As I said, of course, it can be seasonal too. So there's a seasonal migration of the zebra that does occur here in Etosha, generally during the rainy season, where they do head eastwards and then kind of seasonally migrate westwards as well, kind of following the green flush as the rain comes down. So at the moment, just sitting back, enjoying the springbok that are here, picking up in any of the other audio that is around. Sometimes you will actually pick up on the little grunts that go on between the springbok as well. So where they are closer, you will hear a little guttural sound, and that is them communicating with themselves. And it looks like there's more of them coming down. I'll try to see if I can't get a little bit closer. Of course, I am stationary, so I don't get the opportunity to drive around. And it looks like there's a couple of impala as well in the area. So we have had 3 species already, at least while we've been live. And there were the zebra that were about earlier. But here is a rather large herd of black-faced impala also slowly making their way down to join the springbok. And you'll notice the size difference, also the color as well. The impala being far more russety, kind of red color than the springbok. So there's a bit of that guttural sound that I was mentioning. And that is a bit of the communication between the springbok as they mill about. But here comes a rather nice herd of impala down. And who can complain with all this action that is kind of going down? Of course, everyone coming to kind of quench their thirst for the morning and then perhaps heading off to feed. So just sitting here, listening to the lovely chorus of those Namakwa sandgrass. The impala have found their way down to the water's edge. And springbok still here in good numbers. I think as the day starts to warm up, we will see them wading into the water too. Hi, Malcolm. Thanks very much. And nice to know that you have joined us. Unfortunately, where I am on the dam cam right now, I am stationary. So as much as I'd also love to get to that Mopani thicket line, we unfortunately can't. It would be fantastic, though, to go and explore there. I'm sure there is a plethora of things that are going on, and lovely to note all the other happenings that will, of course, be going down inside there. So some very cool animals that are found here in Etosha. But fantastic anyway that we do get to be here. It really is a special reserve, and if you are obviously interested in being out in nature, which I'm sure you are if you have tuned in, then Etosha should definitely be a bucket list item or reserve to go and visit. Morning, Jeffrey. Thanks very much for tuning in and for joining us as we escape to nature. And springbok have a number of very cool attributes. So they are the third fastest antelope, or animal even in the world, mammal that is. They have a very cool adaptation, and this is where their scientific name comes from, Antidorcus marsupialis, and that is due to that patch of hair on their back that kind of does raise up. It's kind of like an inverted ridge. But it does flare up when they stock and pronk. Stocking and pronking being another thing that they do. They are obviously very arid adapted, and in some areas known to probably not even drink throughout their entire life, because they do attain most of that moisture, or the majority of that moisture that they do require then through the vegetation that they do eat. They do also then eat at certain times in the day as well to maximize on that, and that being then when there's dew present on the vegetation as well, so obviously then being able to pick up moisture from that too. both the males and the females have horns, and they also breed throughout the year. So quite interesting. They are rather fascinating. Probably overlooked an area just because of their numbers. There's also 3 known subspecies of them, the biggest being the Kalahari one. These are, I think, the Angolan version. And of course, then we get the Karoo down in southern Africa. Or in South Africa. We are in southern Africa anyway, so do excuse me there. But very cool antelope. Very, very cool indeed. And they can jump rather high as well. It's around 2.5, 3 meters too. Hi, Tyler. And if you just look at the thicket, or that first little thicket here on the left-hand side, there's actually kudu, so there's another one. So we've got 3 here at the moment. There's kudu, springbok, impala. We get the oryx, so the gemsbok. There are also eland, red hartebeest around as well. In terms of the other bovidae, we also get wildebeest. And as I did mention earlier, other herbivore also that is here in good numbers. The second most populous behind the springbok being the zebra. There's also another number of smaller antelope as well. So things like steenbok and Damara dik, and I'm sure there are grysbok as well. And no doubt duiker. Yet to see any of them here. Those smaller ones. There are some kudu that are approaching. A nice little breeding herd, a little harem or group of them. They do form loose associations as well. So you'll also pick up on a little bit of audio of some helmeted guinea fowl that are around. But great that the kudu have come to join us. So we've had a very busy start to today. And in terms of variety, good to notice everything else that is going on. Eddie, thanks so much for your question. And yes, we have. We've seen lion and black-backed jackal in particular. There are also leopard, cheetah, and spotted hyena that are in Etosha as well. But haven't seen any of those. But lion and black-backed jackal are the others that I have seen personally here. And also birds of prey. So we have also seen tawny eagle. And if you do count vultures as bird of prey, we've seen a number of vultures here as well at certain times too. Hi, Malcolm. Thanks very much for your question. A very interesting one. Good to know you know about striped hyena. A lot of people don't. And in Africa, kind of where you start to find the striped hyena is from Tanzania, and then throughout or upwards along East Africa up. They do prefer kind of drier areas, and then you do find them across the Arab Peninsula and into India as well. So the hyena depicted by Rudyard Kipling in the Jungle Book is a striped hyena. Of course, one of 4 members of the Hyenidae family, the biggest being the spotted hyena. Of course, in southern Africa, we do get the brown hyena. Perhaps there might be brown hyena here in Etosha as well. I'm not too sure. I'll have to check. And then the smallest, and the one that really focuses on termites, being an aardwolf. Very elusive. Rather tough to see. I've been fortunate to see one in my life. And I can say I was rather impressed that day. It was one of the highlights of 2 years ago, seeing that aardwolf. We do have one zebra that's come through as well. So we've got quite a bit going on, and I can't complain. There's the lovely Namakwa sandgrass calling for us right now. Of course, some awesome kind of arid adapted and desert species of birds that are about as well. But we are doing good things at the moment, and long may this trend kind of continue. It'd be fantastic to pick up on some of the other animals. Of course, it'd be lovely to see a breeding herd of elephant if they were around or in the area. Perhaps even the bulls as well. The bulls are also always awesome to see. Hi, Hannah. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your question. And we did notice the levels of this waterhole dropped considerably when all those zebra were around, because zebra do drink considerable amounts. Consider hundreds of them coming through and then probably wanting to take of around upwards of 18 to around 23 liters per zebra, and they can drink twice a day as well. So with hundreds and with roughly 15,000 odd of them here in Etosha, you can imagine the amount of water that was consumed. So we did notice the level drop quite a bit. It has picked up, and that's also because I think the zebra have also needed to move on a bit. But there's a lovely kudu cow that's just come in front of us. Really quite fantastic to have everyone here. That guttural sound again of the springbok. And really cool to just enjoy.
Thank you, Wildeth, for this absolutely fantastic prize. at Matea Safari Lodge at Madekwa in South Africa. I joined the Wild Earth Explorer program at its onset in 2019 and have absolutely loved every minute I have experienced in the bush with all the characters of Wild Earth, both human and hairy. Thank you again, Wild Earth.
Sign up today and you could be the one experiencing it for yourself.
So this kudu calf sitting right in front of us right now. It looks like a Cape Crow may have just landed on the other side there. But nice to have the kudus about. They aren't always present. Of course, they are predominantly browsers, and they will also pick up a lot of the moisture that they need from the vegetation they consume. So it's been a very busy start and lovely to have the kudu with us here, but it is time for us also to head across to Andrew and Amakhala and see what's going on there.
Hello, good day everybody. Welcome to another day here at Amakhala Game Reserve. And it is nice weather at the moment, so we're quite excited to be out. It's definitely an option for us to now defrost our bones from this morning and unfrost this brain of mine. Hope you're all doing well. My name is Andrew and I do have Mr. Mpho still behind the camera. Everything's going good on our side. Just we are expecting a nice warm day today, so plenty of water and plenty of sunblock. Those are the essentials out here, most definitely. So we're going to start off here with the beautiful landscape just here by Aloe Lookout, which is still part of the ridge. We're going to just spend a little bit of time up here and scan with binoculars, See if we can't spot the elephants, which they weren't too far from the reports that I got this morning. So hopefully we are able to find those elephants for you. Otherwise, we'll just get into the basin and we'll just have a look and see what is out and about. Otherwise, so far it's just looking really beautiful out there. The air is nice and clear and crisp. Now, let me just take my binoculars out. I'm just going to do a little bit of scanning while you're all watching and see what we can spot out here. Okay, I think I can see at least one elephant bull, but he's very far and he's in the middle of a thick environment.
Hukamore. Yo, here's an impressive looking male leopard. Look at that neck on him. He just looks ready for a fight.
This is only the third time that we are seeing him that is known as the Hukamuri male. He certainly has a lot of character and atmosphere.
This is gorgeous. Hukamuri having a drink at one of the little seasonal pans that's filled up after that beautiful rain we had last night.
First time seeing Hukamuri, isn't he beautiful?
He's got the babies. He's got the baby. 2 of the babies made it away. He's got the one baby.
Only meters away from me, folks.
You know, for all we say he's a gangster and he's got a face for radio, we only tease. He's actually highly, highly adorable.
Isn't he absolutely gorgeous? Compact, powerful, focused.
It's not just Hukamuri and elephants approaching. Look at this.
I love it.
So unfortunately, we did just lose Andrew there. We are back in Okakuyo again, and we are enjoying the scenes that are still unfolding. So the kudu is still ever present, along with the springbok. So we can't complain, because we have quite a bit of action here. And we're still just kind of picking up any of the other vocals or audio that may be coming through. So trying to just keep an ear to the ground, as they say. And just keep our wits about us as to what may be around, what other birds may be coming through as well. So it's exactly what we're going to be doing for the moment. We're just going to sit back and enjoy these springbok, this kudu, and anything else that does kind of pop up, at least on the earwaves. I will also call out, but a rather relaxing morning start for now. Hi Raymond, thanks very much for your question. And it's kind of tough to gauge that. It does depend day to day, also the weather that may be around, and also seasonality. So, of course, in the dry season, we do have lots of animals coming through because this will be one of the few pockets of water around. So they do come through in good numbers. And it kind of kick-starts, I would say, really from around like 8 o'clock throughout midday, and then it does kind of taper off a little bit. The animals do try and move towards the shade during the heat of the day, and that's primarily to conserve energy, of course. Having to regulate your system due to very high heat and temperatures that it will get up to here does mean that you expend a lot of energy and, of course, dehydrate yourself as well. So they do come through in good numbers, and then kind of it does taper off and then it does start to get busier again in the evenings, of course, as it does cool down. And you kind of do notice, at least in the bush, you'll find that the heat of the day, and that is when it feels the warmest and the hottest, is generally from around 3:30 to around 4:30, at least in the Lowveld. It's kind of when the earth has reached its peak of baking point. And the sun's obviously then on its way down to set. But that resident heat that kind of radiates off the earth does kind of reach that peak then, around 3:30 to 4:30. So something you kind of do look out for. You'll notice that the highest temperature probably be recorded at that time or throughout that time during the day. Also when you will feel it the most. There's also that little grebe. You'll notice it scooting about along the water surface. There's 1 or 2 springbok lambs that are around as well, so quite precious to see them as well. Nice just to notice what else is kind of popping around and present at the waterhole at the moment. A couple of guinea fowl I can hear every now and then. But otherwise, we're just waiting to hear what else is going on. Hi, Norman. And we do have a number of popular bird species here. And some of them can be seasonal as well. So 2 of the migratory birds, at least. We've noticed, obviously, big flocks and that rather massive flock of Aben storks of late. That is a seasonal movement, and they occur seasonally here, as well as the European bee-eaters. But the others that are kind of ever-present, of course, we do hear the helmeted guinea fowl. There's this grebe. The Cape crows are also always around. There are some red-billed spurfowl that are found in camp, and we do hear the audio as well. There were the Egyptian geese. They seem to have moved on for the moment. The Namakwa sandgrouse are also very popular here, and we do hear mourning doves. So I think the 3 of my favorite calls here, at least, the mourning doves, the Namakwa sandgrouse, and the European bee-eaters when they are around. We also hear emerald-spotted wood doves. Do hear acacia-pied barbets, haven't heard them for a bit. You will hear hoopoe every now and then. And blacksmith lapwings are also ever present, and they are in good numbers. So if you have tuned in and you are joining us here live in Okakuyo, do make sure that if you are watching off the web app or the app, that you have subscribed to ask any questions. Let us know what you may want to see, talk about as well. So you can obviously register to send those through if you are on the app or on the website. So please do send anything through. This is, of course, a live and interactive and immersive experience. And it is always fantastic when we get to interact with you guys and listen to what you think or want to know about as well, and shed some light on any of the things that you may wish to know about. So it kind of looks like there are droves of springbok around at the moment, and can't complain, because any action is always good action, and they are treating us. 1 or 2 starting to wade into the water, and it is something we pick up on here, where the springbok and the gemsbok generally wade in rather deep into the water. There are some of the blacksmith lapwings flying around at the moment. And when big herds of the zebra here, they also wade into the water too. Of course, you do get the other animals that will kind of wallow and splash themselves, those being the elephant and the black rhino also walk into the waterhole as well. Hi, Candace, and excuse me for giving you a rather broad answer because I kind of love all aspects of wildlife. Been fortunate enough having grown up, spending a lot of time in the bush. It is something that has been ingrained in me. But for me, I think one of the greatest things about wildlife is habitat preservation, because without preserving habitat, we literally then lose out on diversity and then the ability to actually witness and see them. So that is why conservation of these fantastic and rather large habitats is so crucial. It's also why I'm so passionate about things like game corridors, linking reserves to each other and allowing genetics to kind of spread and maintaining strong genes throughout an area is so crucial as well. And these are things that I'm incredibly passionate about. But we've got a lovely little harem of zebra that have come through, a nice little foal as well in the back. You've just kind of seen it there. I'm going to just come a little bit over. Kudu also slowly starting to move off. So you'll notice a number of harems coming through at the moment. Little foals all over the place. Let's actually just come across and kind of face northwards for the moment, because it looks like we've got a number of zebra on their way down. As I mentioned, separate harems as well. They kind of congregate together, and quite a bit that does go on in terms of zebra dynamics as well. Harems are controlled by the stallions, and then there's a pecking order within the mares that go down kind of. So kind of the oldest mares within a harem, they hold a hierarchy as well. The stallions are also known to basically pinch. There's a bit of thievery that goes on between stallions and other harems, kind of taking other mares into their harems as well. And they can be rather nasty to each other, zebras. So at the moment we're joined by kind of a number of zebra harems as well as the springbok, and you'll notice the zebra is also moving right into the water. Looks like we've kind of got a procession of zebra coming down. So awesome to see these prison ponies. Having them coming through like this. So nice to just sit back. Just enjoy them for who they are. But you'll notice the separate pockets as well, and kind of those different groupings of the harems too. There will be a little bit of intermingling and socialization that does go on between them. Perhaps they all kind of know each other as individuals too, but that is a bit of speculation. I can't be 100% certain on that. But lovely to have all these zebra coming through like this. A nice little bit of zebra bray as well, starting too. I'm sure they'll also start to crank up their audio. To me, it seems like 45 separate harems that are around here at the moment. Some will move off in the same direction, some moving back in the direction they came. And it looks like someone turned on the zebra tap at the moment, and they are all on their way down to us. So this does look like it will probably be a theme for the moment, and we'll just sit back and enjoy it. So kind of inundated with zebra at the moment. We are just spending time just enjoying them, picking up on that bray, also watching a little bit of the interaction that may go on between them. Who can complain? Nice to have them all here. Nice to see them in good numbers like this as well for the moment. Nice just to sit back and enjoy the happenings with zebra about. They are rather busy, and there's generally a lot going on in between them. Hi Gabby, thank you very much for your question, and I suppose it is rather a hot topic, self-drive reason, and the reason for having etiquette while you are self-driving. In particular, there are obviously reserves that do allow this, so Tosha being one, the Pilanesberg, and of course the Kruger. And the reason really is having respect for those that are also around with you, but also for the wildlife and what may be there. Of course, a lot of people that do come through and do self-drive themselves may not possibly grasp or know African wilderness or wilderness in general as well as they may think they do, and they may see some of the animals as kind of cuddly, fuzzy things that may not pose any real danger to them, whereas that is completely incorrect. And I myself have had to stop a number of tourists and even local people from getting out of their cars and sometimes even trying to take selfies. There was once an incident I had with a lady trying to take a selfie with a sleeping rhino car, and I've also had to stop people getting out of their cars and walking into a breeding herd of elephant. And I can assure you that neither of those situations would have ended up in any positive manner for the people involved, and very fortunately they did listen and get back in their cars. But it can be very dangerous, and you most certainly do not want to walk into a breeding herd of elephant. That's probably one of the most dangerous things you could ever do. And I do think that a lot of people sometimes obviously don't understand the rules and obviously do not understand that these are wild animals and they deserve all the etiquette they should be accorded and the respect that should be given in a wild area. And a lot of the times it's not even tourists, it can also be overland safari vehicles and tour operators that don't adhere to these, and they also then don't adhere to the rules of sightings. Of course, on your permits, when you do go into the national parks, you will see there are a set of rules and ways to handle and kind of go about being at a sighting, and obviously not what you shouldn't do. So not what you can do, not what you should do when you are in the bush. So alighting from a vehicle in an area that you shouldn't, of course that is one thing you should never do. Particularly if you have just ventured or just got there and you have no idea what is going on. You will have no idea as to what may be just around the corner, or what perhaps could be sitting just a meter off in the bush without you even knowing. So it is exceptionally dangerous for anyone that has no idea on being their first time to alight from a vehicle and really then disrespect nature in that manner. So please do read your permits, have a look to see what is going on. Obviously, pay attention to what is going on. And if you do notice anything that is suspect or that shouldn't be going on against what is kind of laid out to you, please do report those people, because that lack of respect really shouldn't be tolerated. And that goes for tourist vehicles and operators as well. You know, things such as damaging fault and vegetation as well, just to get to better sighting, or driving too fast and perhaps then hitting an animal, leading to fatalities as well. So really anything like that, please do report it if you ever do see it. The onus is, of course, on all of us to preserve and maintain a natural environment as possible. Really impressed by the number of zebra that have come through right now. Kind of non-stop. Lovely wildebeest that's also come through to join them in the Springbok right now. And it seems that the conveyor belt on the production line of zebra in full flight at the moment. Cape Crow also coming to join us. And we can't complain. We really can't complain. Nice to just sit back and enjoy. The zebra are also wading in rather deep, so it's great to see that too. But nice to just sit back and enjoy all of the happenings with them here. Hi, Tina. Thanks very much for tuning in. And there you go. There are the zebra braying for you. So buckle up. Stick around, because it will definitely be a theme with all of them hanging around like this in good numbers. There will be quite a bit that is said between the zebra. So do enjoy, because it is quite awesome. Quite an iconic sound. One of the more iconic sounds of Africa. Listening to zebra braying. Of course, these probably more just contact calling between the different harems and that. There isn't really, from what I can hear or see, any kind of real danger that would be around. But stallions probably also kind of keeping the harems in check as well. As I said, kind of mostly socialization or contact calling that is going on at the moment. So it's quite fascinating when they do come down in numbers like this, when you hear them wading into the water. Loud splash that goes on with it. Of course, if they do get spooked at all, they'll all kind of shoot right out. And generally then come straight back in. Let's just reposition the camera for a moment, because we've got a number of them, and I also don't want to miss out on anything that may be on the south of the waterhole at the moment either. So I'm going to just zoom out, and then we'll pick where we have the most action and train our focus to that. A couple of springboks still here, kind of to the southern part of the waterhole. I don't know what happened there. Do excuse me, sorry for that. Camera playing a bit of games. So it seems that most of the action's here, kind of to the north and the northwestern part of the waterhole. Let's try to see if we can't just train our focus a little bit. This is kind of the extent of where I can go to at the moment. Let's just wait and see. Nice that they have all waded in like this. And really quite a cool contrast if you consider that kind of royal blue of the waterhole at the moment, and then the different contrasts of the stripes on the zebra, and of course the coats on the springbok at the moment too. And then also that concrete stone or deposit that's left over, the remnants of the old inland lake or sea here. That white and then the green before that lovely blue hue of the sky in the horizon over there. So that tree line right at the back over there. Really quite awesome. Lovely scene. Nice just to sit back. Let's just listen to hear what the zebras have to say to each other, and hopefully pick up on some of the other birds that might be around.
Can you imagine a world without the magic of nature? Without iconic animals like the Big Five? Well, we can't. For 50 years, we have been dedicated to protecting your future and theirs. Help the Endangered Wildlife Trust to protect forever together. Your small change can make a big difference. SMS now to donate and tune in to Mix FM to win exciting prizes.
So very fortunate this morning with all our zebra. A couple of wildebeest as well coming through to join them, and the springbok still hanging about in good numbers. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're spending time with our zebra. There's some of the Namakwa sandgrasses as well. Nice audio from them. And lovely just to pick up on all this action at the moment. Hi Elijah. So there is quite a bit that does go on obviously within the animal kingdom and world, and they will also keep an eye out for each other too. So of course if one alarm calls, that kind of does send a shockwave throughout, and it depends obviously on the different species that are there, which alarm calls will then go off, who may have seen the threat. But very common to have antelopes also with primates too, and quite often vervet monkeys or even baboons are actually the sentries, depending on the area for them. So it's always a good thing if there are monkeys around to listen out if there are any alarm calls, because it is always a good indicator. And of course the antelope or other herbivores will also pick up on that. So a bit of intraspecies kind of consolidation really that does then go on. They will obviously kind of use each other's senses and strengths to their advantage to obviously stay alive. So a number of interaction that does go on with that, and something to always keep an ear out for, even an eye too. So you do see a herd of impala, for instance, kind of looking in one direction very still, and then you start to hear that kind of gunshot snort that goes off from them. That is an alarm call, and others that would be around will also pick up on that, and they all kind of run away at the same time. So a number of things that obviously then aid to that community then in terms of being able to stay alive. The Cape Crows starting to fire up those voice boxes. And great to hear that they're around at the moment too. But quite an ominous and imposing call as well of theirs. So we've had a rather busy morning with all these zebra here. Lovely to have them. But it is time for us to head back to Andrew and see what's going on in Amakhala.
All right, so we have found something quite interesting over here. We've got a nice set of horns going over here that we found on the side of the road, which is quite cool. So have a good look at that. Quite a nice specimen of a kudu. Not very old, unfortunately, but did get killed by lions at some point. We can see that this is badly damaged in the front here. So definitely a big carnivore took this animal down. And again, just like the other horns that I've managed to show over the past few days, that the snout or muzzle of the kudu has been crushed. So we know that this is a big carnivore that took this animal down. But what is interesting about the kudu horns, and I'm going to show it to you, I've got a stick over here, and I just want to explain something, and I hope I explain it correctly, because I read this a long time ago. Let me actually stand up a bit. I read this a long time ago. So usually at the tip here, and it is a little bit white, but when a kudu is alive, you find that you have these beautiful, nice spiraled horns, but then on the tip of the horn here is usually white, and there's a reason for that. Now, here's a little stick. I want to show you something, and it's called the broomstick method. So if I take this stick and I put it through the spirals, as you can see what I'm doing here, look, I'm putting them right through the spirals. Oh, this is in the way. You see what's happening here? Okay, so let's try and get where the stick is going, where my finger is. So you can all see that clearly. So as I put this stick through the spirals of the horns, you can see that the stick is actually leading to the eye socket over here. Okay, now if you follow the stick up through the spirals of the horns yet again, it leads to the tip of the horn. You notice that? Okay, so what is interesting is, and I don't know if you've ever managed to see this, I've seen this a few times, that kudus, they do fight sometimes, and they're quite powerful animals. And when they fight, they don't just go like this with their horns. What they do is, with their eye, they try, through the spiral of the horns, they try and look for where that tip of the horn is. So when they're going for a fight and they cuff their enemy, that kudu are very accurate with the horns. That the theory goes that they're able to see that white tip of the horn. So when they look up through the spirals of the horns, they will see this white tip. So when it comes to fighting, if a kudu wants to stab the opponent here, it's going to stab it in that general area, and it's not going to miss, because it almost acts like a sight, if you will, like a rifle sight or a gun sight, that they're able to locate that tip and accurately using their horns and placing it where they want to on their enemy, which is very, very interesting. You see, we call it the broomstick method, and you can see quite nicely the end of the stick leads straight to the tip of the horn. So the theory really does make sense. When the kudu looks up, and I've seen this before, that when they're fighting, they are looking, their eyeball literally is looking for that tip of the horn. And it's very, very interesting, I've always found. Now, this does look like a big kudu, but we can also age this kudu. Let's not use this one, let's use this horn over here. So generally, each spiral of the horn represents about 3 years of age, roughly, okay? So this is the turn of a spiral. Here's another turn of the spiral, and it almost got to the third turn of the spiral. So 1 turn, 2 turn, and now over here is the 3rd turn. So if we had to estimate the age of this kudu, we would estimate roughly about 9 years old. Okay, see that? Now with the other antelopes, it's a lot more trickier to identify their age just by their horns, but with kudu, you can get more or less an age on that. Okay, so this kudu was roughly about 9 years old. It wasn't the most oldest kudu that I've seen in my life, and if I turn these horns upside down, oh, this jaw is properly broken here. Do you notice the teeth here? The teeth are a little bit damaged. Let me just try and get this out. Jarrett, I will get your question now. Just 1 second. So I just want to try and get these teeth out. Okay, well, I only got one tooth out. So there we go. Do you see that there's still lots of details over here? You see that? If this kudu was very, very old, because of the amount of time that it's going to, use the teeth to ground down the food that it's eating, because they chew from side to side. Their jaw goes like this when they're chewing. So with an old kudu, you're going to find that there's not going to be too much detail over here. It's all going to be flat, flat, flat. And then we could presume, yeah, this was an old kudu that was hunted or died of old age, whatever the case may be. But this one still had lots of time to go, just outsmarted by the predators, which is interesting. Now, Jared, what are the functions of the horns? Two main functions. Bulls are going to fight for the breeding rights of females, and then also defense, because they are prey at the end of the day. So when a kudu is wanting to fight back on the predator, it's going to use the horns to fight back. And I'm pretty sure, females are going to be attracted to potentially males that have got very nice horns, almost like crowns on their head. Maybe they're going to be more attracted to those sort of individuals, who knows. And you can actually see the deep root structure over here as well. You see that? It's very, very interesting. You don't often find teeth in the bush, but we do find them from time to time. Very interesting. Okay, let's put this back on the side of the road where we found it. My mom always taught me, put things back where you found them. So I'm sure I would make her proud over there. The next thing I want to show you is this stuff over here. Let's have a look. Grace. Oh, antelope. What antelope do I feel has got the best looking horns? I would probably have to say sable or roan antelope, which there aren't here, unfortunately. Kudu also have very brilliant horns. Yeah, I would probably say those three over there. But let's take a look at what this elephant has been eating. Now we know that this is an elephant because it's all mixed. There's a bit of branches, there's going to be a bit of leaves in there, there's going to be a bit of grass. In some situations, maybe even seeds or fruits that are undigested. Now let's take a look. Now look at that. That is completely whole still. Look at that stick. Now that has gone through the digestive system of the elephant and has passed through. And you can see that they've got a very weak digestive system. So there is a stick still present. We're going to put that over there. What else can we find over here? Here's another stick here. Now you're probably not going to see that, but there's a full blade of grass. How cool is my job? I get to play with poo all day. I want to see if I can find you a leaf. Because sometimes you find properly whole leaves inside here. You really have to look very carefully for them. Okay, obviously because I'm looking for this, I'm not finding it. Okay, aha, there we go. Can we get that, Mpo? It's a bit too far, yeah? Okay, no worries. But there is a full leaf over here that hasn't been digested. Now this is a prime reason why dung beetles really do enjoy elephant droppings. Now bear in mind that this animal, because of the structure of the stomach being a hindgut fermenter, that they don't digest a lot of what they're feeding on, and so there's still very much nutrients inside here. And for animals like dung beetles, they're going to be wanting those nutrients. And that's also another reason why the dung beetles are not really going for the antelope's droppings. And I've mentioned this before, but there will be new people watching. But if you have a look at the antelope's droppings, sometimes they're almost perfectly circular. And I often used to think to myself, why doesn't the dung beetle take the antelope's dungs? Because it's already pre-made into a ball. But because antelopes are re-chewing the food and ruminating, that they re-chew and re-chew and re-chew, that when it eventually passes through the system, that there isn't that much nutrients left in the dung. Whereas an elephant, plenty and plenty of nutrients that are still inside the dung over here. So dung beetles will clip off a little piece like this while it's still wet, not when it's dry like this, and they try and make a little ball. And then the dung beetle is going to push that little ball and then go into an area where it can bury it. Obviously lay eggs inside it first, and bury it, and when those larvae hatch, that they've got something nice to feed on. You see, very interesting. Okay, let's try and scrummage through this a little bit more and see what we can find. Now, what I love about up north, for example, where Djuma is, or where the Lowveld region is, there's the marula trees that are growing out there. And when an elephant is eating on a marula tree and eating the fruits, literally you can pull it right out the dung and you still have that fruit very much whole. So much so that probably even the primates and certain animals might even want to pick it out and then try and eat it. Another little stick over there. Another stick there. Now, if you do enjoy the gin and tonic, you'll know that quinine is present in quinine is, sorry, I'm getting lost there. Quinine is very much present in the tonic water, and it's believed that elephant dung contains quinine. And back in the day, for the hunter-gatherers, if they were feeling that they were getting malaria, to take in quinine, which has been known to help with malaria, they would drink the juices from the elephant's dung. Can you imagine? And the way they will do it is the hunter-gatherers would find a nice little piece, much like this. They would hold it in their hand and they make a thumbs up. You see, thumbs up. And then they would turn it upside down and squeeze as much as they could. And all that fluid drips down their finger, and drops start to form over here on the tip of the finger, and then they could inside the mouth. Honey Badger, thank you very much. You're saying you're enjoying my segments. Well, that just makes my day. Thank you very much. I enjoy getting out the vehicle from time to time. This is how you'll get to know me and get to see me for once in your lives, and you can see exactly what I'm doing. Oh, what was that calling there? Oh, it was a southern boo-boo making this choot 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 sound. Okay, so that's what I've got to say about the elephant droppings. What I do want you to notice is some of the geophytes that are growing here. It's growing all around here. Look at this. Bongani, that's a good question that you're asking me. Well, you know, I don't know if you can find worms inside elephant dung. Maybe you can, I'm not quite sure. But in certain areas, elephants are eating on certain plants that might be very poisonous, like tamboti. We don't get tamboti growing out here. So if you do decide to, you know, do the thumbs up, drink the fluid for quinine, then if the elephant has been eating tamboti tree, you just might get a secondary poisoning. So you really need to know what you're doing. Hunter-gatherers, being masters of their environment, they would know what to do 100%. If it was me, I would prefer to go to a doctor or something like that and get help with malaria. So I don't know if I would potentially make a mistake and, you know, take in elephant dung that has got some tamboti in it, because you don't want to get secondary poisoning from tamboti. Bongani, thanks for that, eh? Okay, so I think if I got the comms right there, let's go to Alex in Ukukuyo and see what's happening at the dam cams.
Thanks, Andrew. Always interesting being able to look at some of the smaller things out there in the natural world, go through them and explain those processes. And obviously then what does occur. So always interesting, nice to have a little deep dive and an insight into that. But what we're doing is deep diving into the dynamics of the waterhole. We've got some black-faced impala that are here. There's 2 rams that are closest to us. There's some others on the other side. And our conveyor belt of zebra continuing as well, along with the springbok that have been around all morning. So we are hoping obviously to see some of the other things as well. It would be lovely to see some of the Angolan giraffe, perhaps an elephant or 2, maybe even 1 or 2 of the other special things. But for the moment, lots going on with the herbivores. A couple of Cape crows still around and still giving us a rather ominous call. resounds or rings through the landscape here. So for now, we've got a nice harem of zebra that is with us, listening to the Cape Crows, trying to kind of keep our ears in tune for anything else that might be around and maybe calling, something different perhaps, and we'll then be able to call out too. But really lovely that we've had all this action with our zebra today. They've really treated us, so we can't complain. And let's just wait to see what else transpires. There's that call of the mourning dove, that little that came through. Such a lovely call, one of my favorite dove calls. Always enjoy listening to them. But the Cape Crow is starting to develop and pick up in number. Are across just to the left of the zebra. A fair amount going on. So who can complain with all of this, really? So we've had a fair amount going on here in Okaukuejo. Nice to just touch base with all the animals here, but it is time for us also to shoot across to a different location. Let's go and look and see what is happening at Djuma. So here we are in Djuma, and we clearly have this lovely waterbuck bull that is with us, and really no complaints. He is rather a magnificent specimen. A number of the Natal spurfowl that are also calling. You'll hear quite a few frogs as well. And lots of other birds, but let's have a nice good look at him. Does look to be rather wet himself as well, perhaps having a little wade. Now, obviously by their name associated with water generally, although I have seen them in some rather dry areas. It was rather a shock to me, and they were in good numbers there as well in the Kalahari. But primarily you do find these antelope close to water sources. Really look at how impressive this bull's horns are. They are really, really spectacular. And I can assure you, probably not horns you want to be on the end of. Cameropteras, there's some Birchall starlings as well. And this waterbuck bull really enjoying what will be rather high in calories and energy for him, that grass that's there, and capitalizing on it. Okay, so yes, they really are a work of art. You are correct. They really are very impressive. Looks like he's got a bit of a growth on his side over there. Notice that little bulge coming out. I'm not sure what that's from, but it does seem to be a growth. Did just hear a grey-headed bushshrike. There's some Cape turtle doves about. It sounds like a rather big foraging party of birds around at the moment. Hear that little tweet that just went on there. Blue waxbills, very common birds here. Very pretty birds though as well. That's it there calling right now. But really rather imposing horns. Quite interesting to note that this one has that growth just there, kind of the back of its stomach. Very impressive, lovely coarse hair. And this is a very impressive bull, that is for sure. Hi Darren, it is quite possible to be able to do that because they do secrete an oil from their skins that does then kind of lubricate that very coarse coat of theirs. Those hairs are in fact hollow and they then secrete that oil to kind of keep them water resistant or waterproof really, but water resistant probably the better way of explaining that. You'll also hear those brown-headed parrots that are nesting around here. That squawk that's going on right now. And look at him enjoying a thorough graze at the moment. So clearly Friday buffet underway. This guy really making the most of what is effectively the end of the rainy season bounty. Let's just follow him for a moment. He's treating us. It's lovely to have him this close to us. Starbuck, great observation, because indeed they really would be very effective in a fight. I can assure you that any animal wanting to try and turn this guy into a meal would have a very tough time at it. He's obviously very bulky as well, so exceptionally strong, but those horns would cause a fair amount of damage. So if you have just tuned us and or tuned into us and you are watching live, thank you once again. And also, if you have happened to have seen any wonderful, crazy, awesome sightings or witness any amazing encounters and you do have video footage of this, please do head across to the Wild Earth website platform and go and click on the Content Creator tab, because you can then have that content shared across the Wild Earth platforms. You also stand the chance then of earning revenue, getting your names in the comments or credits. So if you do, and if you have seen anything awesome you do wish to share, please do head across to the Wild Earth platform for user-generated content that we are obviously interested in showcasing. So if you are in the position to share, and it is something fantastic, please do head across. Please do send it through. Tornado, yes, it can be rather tough, but of course it does take also exposure and just time, really. Seeing them and witnessing them, and you then start to pick up the differences, and it then can become rather easy. Of course, for some it's easier than others, but it's generally, accumulation of hours and time spent with them that then helps you to ID them. And also watching and tuning in to us, you get fantastic sites like this, and this will also help you in your quest to becoming a better identifier of antelope. Sounds like there are one or two arrowmark babblers as well in the area. A couple of hornbills too, from what I can pick up on. So a fair amount going on here too. But lovely that this waterbuck is treating us the way he is. Awesome just to sit back and just enjoy him as well. Also just listen to that foraging party that's around. One or two woodlands kingfishers that I can hear, a bit distant though, but they are around. And he's really making the most of all this fantastic vegetation for him. Of course, if you have just joined us, welcome to Escape to Nature. You are with myself, Alex, and we are here at Gari Dam in Djuma, Sabi Sands. We've also spent some time across in Okakuyo, where we were inundated with zebra in their droves and numbers, good numbers of springbok. Nice to see all the black-faced impala as well, a couple of wildebeest too. And we've also been with Andrew, who was discussing some of the smaller things in the bush. Very interesting indeed. It has been rather fun. Of course, it's also live and interactive, so please do let us know if you have any questions or comments. Of course, you can subscribe and you can send those through off the Wild Earth platform or off the app. Also, if you have tuned in on YouTube, do give us a like and do subscribe so Wild Earth can send you through any of the other awesome notifications of things that we might have seen. Make sure you don't miss out on any of the other awesome happenings that go on throughout a day to day, even a week to week, month to month, whatever your preference may be. But we are sitting back here, we are enjoying our waterbuck bull. He is treating us, and it's not always that we do get to see them out in the open like this, and also just hanging about. So nice to just sit back and enjoy him. And really just appreciate a rather impressive animal. So it looks like he's going to start to settle down. Perhaps we'll start to notice him ruminating, going through the process where he will further break down what he's just consumed, hoping to kind of extract as much nutrients as possible from all of that. Of course, being a ruminant, having 4 chambers to his stomach, obviously then allowing him to extract the maximum out of what he has just consumed. Hi, Ryan. Thanks very much for your question. It's actually a very interesting one because waterbuck populations and numbers do swell and dissipate. They are known to move across. They aren't really, or move area, they aren't really subjected to fences or rivers. The general kind of, I suppose, boundary areas that we might set up or designate as human beings. So the numbers do fluctuate, and I wouldn't know exactly offhand. Of course, they would be present in certain areas, and obviously in higher numbers, where the vegetation would suit them. So as you would have noticed, we did just have a plane come over us, so I'm sorry that would have just broken up my audio there as well. And what we were talking about is just the numbers of waterbuck and how they kind of are in flux. They do change constantly. Waterbuck aren't really subjected to our designated boundaries or that we may set out, and they do move from area to area. They kind of can have home ranges. Of course, they will stick to water sources that they do know, and there will be localized residents too. So it's tough to really call a number on waterbuck populations. I've witnessed it myself where we've actually put waterbuck into a reserve with them to literally within 10 days decide to jump the Sabi River and head back into the Kruger. So it was kind of a futile exercise at the time. But that is kind of what happens with them. They will move around, and they aren't necessarily going to be beholden by any boundaries or property demarcations that we might designate ourselves. Also, seasonality may play a role in that. But yeah, I don't know the exact population within Djuma. I'm sure there's a rough estimate in terms of a game census that will be done on waterbuck themselves within the Sabi Sands and even in the greater Kruger too. But more often than not found closer to water and water sources. Water sources, not sources. That is very incorrect English, so do excuse me there, but water sources.
Wild Earth's mission is an expensive one, but we know that our live experience is important to so many people that cannot afford to pay for it. We have added a donate button to our website. By donating, you are directly helping us share our free nature experiences with the world. We want Wild Earth to reach children, budding conservationists, and the less fortunate. A little money goes a long way. You can make a difference to someone today.
those Natal spurfowls being rather loud at the moment. And I think what we're going to do is let's have a look to see what our brown-headed parrot family is up to while our waterbuck bull sits down, enjoys himself, and ruminates. Rather overcast here at Djuma anyway, so rather pleasant too. But nice to hear those Natal spurfowl. What we're doing is just having a little look to see where our brown-headed parrots are. Hi Starbuck, good question. And most certainly it can be, because of course water will attract predators, and of course certain water bodies also having predators living within them, such as crocodiles. I did actually see some footage of really, of course that is why it does help to kind of be in a herd or a loose association, and even be in different foraging parties with other antelope that may be around to kind of keep an eye or tab on things. But it is also part of a natural cycle of things as well. So not only do we need the herbivores, but we also need the predators to regulate the numbers of those herbivores so they don't cause damage to the environment around them. It's also why we deal with a thing called the ecological carrying capacity of an area. So while I zoom across and have a look for these brown-headed parrots, what we are going to do is head across back to Andrew and see what's going on there in Amakhala.
Thanks, Alex. Good luck with your parrots there. We found this elephant bull here, and he's been doing some mud wallowing. Just wondering where he got this water, because we're not far from the river line at the moment. So there could be little patches of water in the river that he might have found. And he's looking like he's sparkling, isn't it, with all that glittering of the water on his body. Let's watch him a bit. Let's see what he does. Yeah, not doing too much, very much standing still, but it is getting warm now, so I think this elephant is probably going to find a place to have a nap somewhere. Almost like that tail has got a life of its own, the way it's moving around. It's amazing how they blend in. I know elephants are very large animals. In particular, this one is looking to be very close to maybe 5 tons, maybe just a bit more. But all it takes is just to step behind a few little bushes like that, and before you know it's totally gone. So if you ever do come on safari out in Africa and you're hoping to see elephants, it's never a guarantee, and sometimes you really need to look hard for them because they can blend in, melt away into the bush very easily. Not sure if you can hear that bird that's making a call now. Guguluk, guguluk. The Bokmekiri, a bushveld telephone. There we go, just walking. Looks like Afstert. That's that male that we see with a short tail. Hello Tina. Oh, the elephant population here is very good. There's 3 different family groups out here in Amakhala Game Reserve, and they're doing very well. Originally there used to be two family groups, but one of the family groups decided to split, and so making a 3rd family group, which is quite nice. But the population out here is doing well, and we have seen some young elephants, and so they are breeding. And I remember when I first started here at Amakhala Game Reserve, we just missed a birth, and we actually found all the afterbirth on the road, more to the east of our location here, not very far from where we are. But I do remember when I saw an elephant giving birth in the Timbavati Game Reserve. I had been working as a guide for about 3 or 4 years, maybe 3 years I would say, and I got to witness something like that. So that's incredible in itself, to be able to see something within the first 3 years of you being in the bush. Because to see really special things, you either need to spend a lot of time in the bush or you need to be extremely lucky. So in my situation, I was extremely lucky. But when that elephant gave birth, the elephant is in a sack, and that sack gets ripped open and the calf comes out the sack. And the other elephants in the group, literally, they buried the afterbirth. They covered it with sand and dust just to lessen the smell. Because in environments where there are spotted hyenas and lions, they know exactly what afterbirth means. It means that there's a young animal that's vulnerable, that's easy pickings. And so the elephants are smart enough that they either consume some of the afterbirth or they try and completely cover it. Now he's just standing very still in that thicket. Maureen, I'll have to really agree with you. When we look at just the way a family group of elephants is structured, it's very precise. They're very, very smart, intelligent animals. And it's amazing to watch a family group for an extended period of time, because you really get to see the politics inside the family group. You see some of the young bulls, they start to play with each other and it gets rougher and rougher, and they start to almost bully each other. And then the adult comes along, or the mom comes along and chases them away and says, "Stop your nonsense." And they go running off into the bush and they trumpet, and it's amazing. Elephants are incredible animals. And I think that we don't realize their true intelligence. I think there's a lot more going on with elephants than what we do know. I'm just going to give it a moment or two, see if this elephant bull decides to come out through some of the openings that are here. I'm just going to give a little bit of time. But I don't know if you can see these green, quite broad-bladed plants that are growing on the ground here. These are what we call geophytes. It's the plant called a tall white squall. Now we call them geophytes, and a geophyte, in case you're wondering, is a plant that has got an underground storage structure, so like a bulb. And they can remain dormant under the soil for a very long time, waiting for conditions to get perfect. And then they grow, and then you get those tall white stems, which are, with most of them, taller than me. Elephants really do enjoy eating the bulbs. They actually dig them up, and porcupines too. Sometimes we drive along these areas and we find some of them are unearthed and sitting on the surface of the land. And if you have a look carefully, it's been dug up by an animal. Now, because these geophytes are underground and they have the ability to store water and nutrients, that if animals are hungry and they are able to dig up the bulbs, there is a lot of minerals and nutrients in bulbs. So it's a good food source, especially when times are tough and there's droughts. That elephants have got an option. They've got options. They can dig up these bulbs and eat them. Okay, we're not having too much luck with this elephant coming out. But speaking of luck, let's see if Alex has had any with those parrots.
Thanks, Andrew. And yes, we have had some luck with the parrots. They were out a moment ago, kind of just gone back in that little hole over there, that little cavity in the tree. You'll notice its head just popping out and about. A couple of days ago, we did have a juvenile gymnogene or African harrier hawk that had tried to raid this cavity. They did manage to fend it off. So good to know that these two's parental instincts are strong, and they have done a good job of protecting those two chicks that are inside. Predominantly two chicks. They probably are starting to get towards fledging right now. Hopefully we shall see a family of these brown-headed parrots soon. They really are impressive. I did mention the other day that there are roughly 26 species of parrots in Africa. And that being across obviously the true parrots, the lovebirds as well, parakeets we do find as well. So quite interesting. These being quite small parrots, if you consider a little bit smaller than the grey-headed and Cape, which are the biggest here in South Africa. The Cape parrot being the bird of the year, most endangered that we find here. Those being the same size as the African grey, which unfortunately is losing large numbers in the wild due to the pet trade. Really not cool to keep parrots as pets. They often outlive their owners, and they obviously do become dependent and attached to those owners. So it can be a rather sad set of circumstances if someone is to perish and they still have a parrot that is left over. They also do suffer from a number of other things if they are in captivity. You'll notice them. They are really in bad nick, having pulled out feathers and the rest, and that due to a number of other reasons. So best to avoid owning parrots as pets where possible, birds in general. But lots being said by those Natal Franklin at the moment, or Spurfowl, not Franklin. That is them that's calling right now. And the Birchall's starlings, other birds vocalizing. So let's just hang back. We're going to hopefully see this parrot come out. It is, of course, overcast and rather cool, so perhaps a little bit warmer in the cavity right now. But perhaps we'll also see them climbing about, clambering, using their beaks, those adapted feet of theirs. They are really good at climbing. And hopefully we'll see them out in that lovely green color, perhaps some of the yellow as well. Of course, right now, you can see where the bird's name comes from. Brown-headed parrot. I think that actually may be a vervet monkey that's also calling there right now. I'm just going to wait to hear and confirm that. But at the moment, this little parrot popping its head out, keeping an eye or a tab on things. And as I said, we're just hoping that it does come out because they do have really quite special coloring. And they really are quite awesome to watch. But I think with these overcast conditions, also why those Natal Spurfowl are calling like that. That's a wooden thickney that also just called there. So a lot going on with these cooler conditions. And our parrot really acting as a watchguard, a watchdog, watchbird, you want to call it that. So let's head out at the moment. So as we said, going to sit back. Hopefully it'll come out for us, show us those lovely colors. Otherwise we'll see if that waterbuck is still there in a moment or so. But for now, just hanging back. Hopefully you're going to get some action here. Here's some oxpeckers as well. And another species of starling as well, like a Cape Glossy. So we're still waiting for some movement from this parrot. So we're going to sit back and just kind of wait to see what does go on. Hopefully see some of that cool climbing behavior. Again, hoping to show you some of that lovely green coloration that they do have on themselves as well. There are obviously two of them around. Of course, we can just see the one's head at the moment. Let's just wait to see. Wind's slowly starting to pick up. I might have to just zoom back out if it does get a bit more shaky. Let's just wait to see. It's a black-crowned chagra as well calling now. Hi, Kunri. Thanks very much for your question, and thanks very much for tuning in and joining us as we escape to nature today. And at the moment, no, this bird isn't displaying any form of aggressive behavior. It's really just having a look around to see what else may be going on. Kind of posting as a watchman. A watchbird, as I said just now. And that's also why you'll see its head kind of moving about like that. Kind of just keeping tabs of what may be about. Haven't heard any birds of prey, and no doubt we would see different behavior if that was the case. Seems our parrot isn't really obliging at the moment. I think it's kind of enjoying the warmth of that cavity. It does look like with this being a bit overcast, wind blowing a bit, probably a bit cooler than what they are used to. What we're going to do, zoom back out. Let's have a look to see if our waterbuck bull is still around. We can always come back if we do hear them vocalizing. And it does look like a bit of a system around, perhaps some rain for later on. It looks like our waterbuck bull has moved off. So the waterbuck bull clearly moving off. What we're going to be doing is having a little pan around, see who else may be here. What else may be going on. So it looks like it is time for us to move off from Djuma. An awesome time that we have spent here. I'd love you to enjoy that waterbuck bull as well as our parrot. Listen to all the other birds that have been around in the area. And I think it's time for us to head back to Okakuyo and see what's going on with the zebra. So we are back in Okakuyo now. And the zebra are still present, along with the springbuck. Wind slowly picking up again here today. I think as the day kind of gets a bit warmer, it is clearly starting to jump the camera around a bit. So I'm going to come out a little bit. We are going to just sit back and enjoy the zebra. Also just want to zoom out and have a look to see if anyone's at the other side of the waterhole. Perhaps see if there's anyone else approaching. Otherwise, a number of springbuck and the zebra in the waterhole that we can just sit back and enjoy. You will be able to pick up on a little bit of the wind as well. You can even see that off the surface of the waterhole too. So for now, what we're doing is just going to enjoy the zebra and the time that they spend with us. Kind of a peaceful interlude at the moment. Zebra treating us, the Cape Crows giving us some cool audio, springbuck still hanging about. So what we're going to do, just sit back and enjoy them. Hopefully be joined by more. Otherwise, nice just to take in kind of Friday, mid-morning to midday here in Southern Africa. Just here in the distance there, some of those, or one of those acacia pied barbets. I did mention earlier that we hadn't heard one for some time, so nice to hear that. And we've got some more zebra coming through to join us. So if you have just joined us, if you are a teacher, of course, Wild Earth is bringing back Wild Earth Kids. And this is on Wednesday. It starts on the 12th of April. And if you do wish to register, as I said, if you are an educator or a teacher, please head across to wildearth.tv/kids. There are a number of spaces to be picked up. So be sure to be quick because they do vanish rather quickly. And if you do want to be involved, of course, it's a fantastic way to get to share knowledge and, of course, teach the youth about the natural world. So do get on those spaces, really do go rather quickly, and it really is a cool activity. Looks like we've got a rather large herd of impala coming to join these zebra, so lots of action for the day. Hi, Brandon. Thanks very much for your question. And from what I'm aware of, I do not think so. If they were, probably rather small amounts. I will have to double check that for you. I will try and have a little scan through. Now, from what I'm aware, there aren't. Hi, Nick. Interesting question. And marking on the rear of the common waterbuck, there are two species, the other being the Defassa. The Defassa doesn't have that mark. Generally thought to kind of be a kind of marker, location device. So if they do kind of splinter and run off in different directions because of the presence of a predator or being even chased by one, and that's also thought that it kind of acts as a marker for others that may notice where they might have run off to. From what I can see, there are waterbuck that are found in Etosha, although the numbers will be rather small. But I've been able to find that there are. I just haven't yet to see any here. I'm not too sure which area they are in either. I can see that there are images of people that have, or of waterbuck from people that have been able to take photos of them here in Etosha. So probably uncommon. And as I said, I'm not too sure of which area they would be found. I would assume maybe further east. But that again, a bit of speculation.
Thanks to our wonderful Wild Earth explorers, Wild Earth Kids is back. Your monthly subscriptions have allowed us to relaunch Wild Earth Schools on a weekly basis, every Wednesday for the first hour of the Sunset Safari.
You guys bring a smile to my face every single day.
Sign your class up for a special virtual field trip to Africa, because touching the lives of the future protectors of our Earth truly matters.
So, of course, we are watching these black-faced impala and springbok, and I can't get much closer than this at the moment, so please do bear with me, but I can tell you that there are two different antelope that are here. Springbok being closest to us, and that herd of impala slowly starting to move off. Lovely little silhouette of them though, off the surface of the Okakuya waterhole. There again is that little nice sound from our mourning dove. Cape crows going around. A couple of the impala still hanging about. One or two springbok in the shade of the camel thorn over there. Otherwise, it's been awesome to sit here and just enjoy lots of action. We've really been inundated. So I think while these impala kind of mill about on this southern side of the waterhole, let's have a look to see if the zebra are still around. Perhaps they've been joined by a number of others. Otherwise, what we will do is just come back. For now, we are also just sitting back and enjoying really a rather imposing sound of those Cape crows. There's one zebra that's there. Looks like a number of the others are kind of moving off. So probably here is the best bet for now. Kind of a line of sight. Those game trails that do lead to and from Okakuya waterhole. Sadly, it looks like everyone is kind of moved off for the moment. We're just going to have to engage our patience gear and see who comes through for us. So it looks like I've got a couple of zebra now coming back to join us. As Impala have moved off, the other zebra have kind of also decided to give us the slip. The springbok are also still hanging about, which we're grateful for, and we're still listening to these Cape crows. So let's just wait to see what does happen. And of course, what we'll do is just engage patience gear and take in the rest of the environment around here. We have that red-billed spurfowl calling at the moment. So a rather kind of raucous sound. I'm hoping that these zebra start to make their way down to us. So let's just sit here, enjoy the springbok. We're waiting on these zebra. They do look like they are coming down to join us. The grebe is still about. Otherwise, rather relaxing scenes at the moment. Action slowly starting to die down as we kind of get to rather very warm part of the day. Let's just wait and see what does start to unfold. Well, we wait on the zebra to kind of come join us and anyone else to join our Okakuyo waterhole party for the day. It's time for us to head back to Andrew and Amakala and see what's going on there.
Thanks, Alex. I hope you managed to get your zebras that you're waiting for there. We are just here on just by Eloweni and just having a good look at this beautiful scenic view. The elephant bull that we had earlier on, he didn't want to come out the thicket. So we just drove to the top here and we're going to just spend a little bit of time here and watch and see what's going on there. The lovely feature to Amakala Game Reserve is this basin area. And I often try and imagine if this basin wasn't here. Of course, there's other beautiful areas on the reserve with the dune thickets and the vegetated dunes and all of that. But this basin really is a feature that's just of its own kind, really. all the tourists, they come out here and the guests, they always notice how beautiful this is, and they always want to stop and take photos and spend time with this beautiful view. We're also not too far from the cave. At some point, we are going to climb down there and spend a bit of time in the cave. That's beautiful up here. Slight breeze is blowing, nothing like it was yesterday with that quite a strong gale force wind. Not as strong as what it could be. Out here, we can get up to 50, 60 km/h winds. But today, this is a very slow wind. Oh, I just heard a chestnut-fented warbler calling. It's also a good spot for hearing and seeing somber greenbills. Coruprinia, because there's a lot of fynbos that's growing around us here. So Coruprinia, often we hear it from up here. Look at this, incredible. I'll never forget that day. I think it was my first stint on Amakhala. I was with BK at the time, and at that time the guides were really desperate at finding the lions. They were just not being seen, and days went on, and nobody found lions, and they were getting quite desperate actually. And myself and BK, we came from Safari Lodge where we were staying at the time. Beautiful accommodation, by the way. And we came through the gate, and we started making our way towards Eloweni Road, where not too far from where we are now. And we bumped into the male lion. And oh man, I was so proud to announce that, Stations, we've got the male lion. And then everybody was very interested. And at the end of it, we actually got a couple of phone calls from some of the guides here, and they thanked us profusely. Because of course, you know, when you are a tourist and you come out here, your time is really limited actually. You come here for 4 nights or 3 nights, and everybody is hoping to see certain animals. And when the lion is missing out the list, then sometimes it puts a lot of pressure on the guides. As soon as we found that male lion and some of the guides came and viewed that male lion, you could almost see the pressure leaving their body, which was quite nice. Shame. It does happen from time to time. I've experienced it as well. Wonderful reserve, this. So I'll give you a little bit of history while we're up here, because there will be some first-time watchers. You're just joining us, so let's go through a little bit of the history of Amakhala. Now, as you can see down in this basin area, this is all open environments here, and so this would have been cattle farms, originally from the 1820 settlers' time. So a lot of history involved. And then Amakhala came about and became a reserve about 20-something years ago. So just about 22 years, 23 years, roughly about there. Now, the founding families on Amakhala, and they are as follows. So it's the Gush family, the Hart family, the Folds family, and the Weeks family. And they were all cattle farmers. But then they all had, a chat with one another, and they wanted to focus on ecotourism. They wanted to, make this a game reserve and invite guests to come along here and restore the nature to its original state. So they all agreed, and they dropped all the fences and took away all the infrastructure. Some of the farmsteads would have been reduced to rubble and cleared. And then slowly but surely, the animals would have needed to be introduced. And 23 years later, this is what we have, Amakhala Game Reserve. And those respective farmers are still the founding families here, which is very respectful. And of course, it's been inherited over the years. But a lot of history, and Amakhala is very sentimental to these founding families, and I can understand why. They've transformed it in a very positive way. Now, you've got to bear in mind that if, say yourselves, you want to maybe start a game reserve, now you need to wait time and you need to prove to all the tourists and who else, the tour agents, that you are a good reserve, etc. And to establish a strong, solid name, it doesn't come overnight. It takes years and years and years. And some of the lodges I've worked at, some of them have been a game lodge for 30 years. One of them was 45 years. So that's a very, very long time. So when you start out, it takes a long time before it gets to its full glory that it can be. So I do take my hat off to all the founding families being so patient and having the concept of this becoming an eco-reserve, which is great. Doing brilliant work. And I think it's important that we start restoring nature back to its normal state. Because as we know, the population of the world is increasing every single day. And essentially, habitat is getting less and less for the animals. And so when you have a reserve like Amakhala, this is a great, great thing. So all the founding families, thank you very much for what you've done. If it wasn't for all of you, we wouldn't be here. Yeah, and then a few things that are quite nice to do here at Amakhala if you do come out here. Lola, you're welcome, 100% welcome. Thank you for joining us on the safari truck with us. It's always nice to have everybody on board. But I was just saying that if you do actually come out to Amakhala, and make no mistake, already there's been lots of people that have come through here because they watch Wild Earth and they realize that there is a beautiful reserve that they never even knew about. And a lot of them have come through here and spent some time. But if you do plan a trip, I'm sure some of you have already made some bookings, and some of you are still planning coming out here. There's many things you can do. Okay, but right now the river is dry, so we can exclude the fishing and we can exclude the boat rides and canoes. That's unfortunately not going to happen until the river does flow again. But they do horse rides out here, or should I rather say horse trails, with very experienced what's the word I'm looking for? Is it a groomsman? I'm not sure. The people that take you out on the horse trail, I'm not sure what they call them. Very experienced. And another thing that you can do out here, you can focus on bird drives. So instead of going out there to look for animals, you can actually solely focus on birds, which I've done quite a few when I used to work at one of the lodges out here, Bukela Lodge. Then there's also stargazing activities, which is very nice to do. And I know a couple of the lodges, I think they still have telescopes, and they can look at the stars, which is always very nice to do. And I would love to get Ben Coley out here, because he would be able to do some really good presentations out here for not only the guests, but also the guides. You can also do bushwalks, nature trails, and you won't be able to go by yourself, but you'll go with a very experienced gentleman out here, Mr. Rian Brandt, and he is the lead trails ranger out here. And so he's very experienced, he's got all of his hours, he is 100% qualified and very knowledgeable, and I've joined him on many walks before. And the amount that you learn on a walk compared to how much you learn on a safari truck, it's very different, because there's things that you're not going to see on the side of the road that you can see when you're walking through the bush. So I learned a lot from him, and also so knowledgeable he is. So you can do the trails, the nature trails. And also, if you do bring children out here, there's a couple of lodges that are very welcoming to children. And I believe the age limit to go on the safaris will be about 6 years old. Although if your child is very well behaved and they're 5.5 years old, I'm sure exceptions can be made. That'll be at the guide's discretion. And then for all those children that are very young, that can't go on the safari, I know 2 of the lodges out here, that'll be, at least, there must be another one, but I know Hlosi Lodge does this, where you can hire babysitting services, and you can leave your young one with the care of someone else, and then if you would still like them to, go on a little bit of a bumble and maybe take an hour, hour and a half drive, they will do a kids drive after breakfast. And that'll be focusing on the children. Get them on the vehicle and get them to go out with the presence of one of the parents or both of the parents. One of the things I used to like doing with the children was making plaster casts. So you take them on a drive and you find some very nice, fresh, deep footprints. And then you take this solution of the plaster of Paris and you mix it with water and you make it like nice and runny. And then you fill up the track with that plaster of Paris. Let it dry and then you take it off, dust it off, clean it up a bit, and then present it to them, and they can put that in their luggage with a little bit of bubble wrap. And they can take that home with them. Nice thing to do, isn't it? Oh yes, I mustn't forget, you can also do night safaris. Now, a night drive is a very different thing to do. Focusing on the nighttime animals. So when they do go on night drives, they don't focus at all on any of the daytime animals. Your respective guide will literally drive past any of the antelopes that they find because they don't want to disturb them, and their eyes are not very used to the light, the globe, or the spotlight that they use. And you'll be in search of all those red glowing eyes, which indicates that it's a potential nighttime animal. So porcupines and hares and potentially honey badgers and aardvark and aardwolf. Maybe some owls. Okay. Beautiful view up here, but I'm going to send you over to Cedric now, who's at Madikwe Game Reserve.
Yes, thank you so much, Andrew, and yes, welcome. We are here at a very wet Madikwe Game Reserve for this morning. It has been pouring down with rain, and it's a lot of lightning and thunder, but it's all right. We are out at the moment, and we are sitting here at the Chukuru Dam, and we had a beautiful spoonbill. It looks like a black-headed heron, just flew off now as well. But, well, we can see what we can see around this dam. We can't move too far, as most of the roads are pretty much closed around here at Madikwe. Good morning, everybody. My name is Cedric, and behind the camera we've got Igor. Thank you for joining us on Escape to Nature, and I'm happy to be on Escape to Nature after this kind of weather that we had this morning. But it's fine. We will take a look around here. We've got that beautiful spoonbill, an African spoonbill that has just been keeping us entertained for the last half an hour since we got here. And as you can see, that typical beak, that spoon-shaped beak, and just wading through the water. Of course, just picking up on any movement. Oh, there's a black-headed heron now. Oh, he's got a fish on the right. He's just ate a fish. I'll take a look. Or is it his throat? No, it's his throat, sorry. But yes, so it's too beautiful. So we've got the heron on the right and there's the spoonbill on the left-hand side. I have got different hunting techniques as well. On top of that, the black-headed heron is really not an aquatic, hunter. It's more common terrestrial, so it eats a lot of insects, and as well as little birds, little mammals, reptiles. So that's what the black-headed heron goes for. Not like the other herons as well, where the other herons will pretty much eat fish and frogs. This one's more the terrestrial side of things. We have, of course, your spoonbill that's busy wading through the water at the back end. That one, of course, is looking for any fish and frogs. If we get any little bit of movement coming close to its beak, and of course it's going to snatch that prey up very quickly. I don't get to see black-headed herons often, the one that's coming now to the right. Well, of course, this is Quiz Mania Marathon coming up in aid of Earth Month. It starts, of course, tomorrow afternoon for the first 2 hours of the Sunset Safari on a Saturday and a Sunday. And thanks to everybody that has registered. And an email has been sent to all the teams explaining everything. So please be sure to check your inbox if you have registered for the Quiz Mania Marathon. What is today? Friday. Oh, so this one, yes.
The Wild Show has aired. The curtain has begun descending. But wait, you didn't catch all the episodes live. We are proud to announce that all 24 episodes of The Wild Show are available on the app.
Can we stop there, please? Because...
Watch out for The Wild Show Carousel, only on the app.
Let's push play on this episode of The Wild Show.
That pied kingfisher, but look how still that head is when he hovers like that. That head is so still; it does not move an inch. And what he's doing now is just checking for anything that's moving on the surface of the water. And if there is a little fish, of course, he will dive down and try and snatch it up. I love these pied kingfishers. And I don't think like very successful when it comes to fishing. I think every time they dive in,
So sadly, we did just lose Cedric there. We are back at Okakuyo though, listening to the Cape Crows. We've still got one or two springbok that are around us. The lovely morning doves that are also keeping us company. Otherwise, it is a rather warm day. I think everyone is kind of heading towards the shade. Conserve as much energy as possible. But nice just to sit back, listen to those mourning doves. I'm going to just zoom back out for the moment. Hopefully we'll be joined by some others. There's that wildebeest on this side here. Perhaps try to get a closer view here. That lovely call, though, I love to call out, of the mourning dove. So for now, we'll listen to our mourning dove. There they are. Really cool. Really quite special. Nice that the crows have given them, I suppose, the time and opening to be able to let us listen to that call. Really, really special, though, for me at least. But we've got that wildebeest and a number of the springbok taking refuge in the shade over there. Really quite cool listening to these two doves. Really one of my favorite bush sounds. I thoroughly enjoy listening to them. I always kind of stop and sit back if they are about and calling. Normally quite close to waterholes and that as well. But it does depend on the area too. Always nice to listen to them. Hi Ella. He is 11. Ella wanting to know which animals I'm scared of. And I just need to rack my mind because I'm really not scared of any. I do show them a healthy amount of respect. But I would think things like a swarm of bees. And I'm really not a big fan of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes also carriers of malaria, at least the Anopheles. And obviously they contribute to the most deaths of people, really, from the animal world around the world. So more dangerous than things like hippos, crocodiles, buffalo, lion, the elephant. That would be mosquitoes. So I would think probably a swarm of bees or an Anopheles mosquito being the two things that I wish to avoid. I won't lie though, when I was young, I did have quite a bad nightmare once of wolves, and I wasn't really too fond of them for some time. But that has gone away. And as I said, while I show animals a lot of respect, I'm not necessarily scared of them. So Nadine from MC asking me if I'm not scared of any other creepy crawlies and that, and no, and I think it's purely just due to exposure. I did grow up with a number of them around, and I did also have a number of them as pets as I was growing up, so no, unfortunately, I'm not really too scared of any of those things. As I said, a healthy amount of respect that does need to be given to all things wild. Of course, venomous snakes also need a healthy amount of respect, but I have held things like black mambas, different cobras, puff adders, and the rest with different courses that I've done as well. And you kind of develop that respect, and it's better to, I suppose, confront any fears you may have had in the past. But I suppose also being young and having a hyena around the house, that was quite scary back in the day. But after being exposed to it a number of times and having a number of run-ins with them over my years, that dissipated rather quickly. But yeah, it is things that I would be most wary or cautious of are swarms of bees and, of course, mosquitoes. So I'm hoping that this wildebeest does kind of move closer towards us. Of course, we are looking at the springbok that are about to. You will hear the odd grunt from them. And it does seem that we are going to get a little bit lucky and we are going to get a better view of them now. So, at the moment, we're waiting on our wildebeest to kind of graze his way towards us, listening to our morning doves, Cape crows, and watching the springbok that are kind of foraging about. There's a couple of those crows there. Some weavers calling now as well. And really nice hearing that little trill of the dove, as I've said numerous times now. So, really quite cool, no complaints. And this wildebeest inching ever closer. So it looks like the wildebeest has other ideas, kind of turning away from us at the moment and heading back. Of course, they don't necessarily work on any form of linear kind of trajectory when they are foraging or feeding about. It's really whatever kind of feels, kind of tastes the best. So no wonder the kind of non-linear pattern that any of these herbivores will follow when grazing. So I'm still just sitting here enjoying the crows, the lovely calls of our morning doves, watching the wildebeest and the springbok, mostly kind of in the shade at the moment. I'm trying to pick up on anything else that kind of is to the southwest of us. So, very fantastic and an awesome day that we have had here at Okaukuejo. Lots going on, lots also going on across in Djuma, but it's time for us to head across to Andrew and see what he's found.
Okay, so we found a very interesting little plant growing over here. Look at this. This is such a cool little plant. Look at all these little stems coming out the main point. Let me just remove that piece of grass, or rather bend it. I want to pluck this grass out. Shame, something's going to eat it. Okay, put that there. Okay, so this is called a candelabra flower. And again, another geophyte. So now if I had to dig under the ground over here at the base of the plant, we would find quite a nice sized bulb. Some of them are so big. What's very interesting about this plant is that in times of rain, this will begin to flower. These are the seeds at the end of the cases here. Then the rain goes away, conditions get dry, and this flower starts to die. And when it starts to die, these pods over here that contain the seeds dry up. And then as soon as the wind comes, which this area is very, very well known for the wind comes along here and thrashes the plant and spreads all the seeds throughout the bush. And I like to say it's just another mechanism Mother Nature has in place. Many, many different mechanisms that Mother Nature has in place to ensure that the plant survives. That even when this plant dies, that it's part of its process, that the seeds will dry up, the pods dry up, the wind thrashes the plant, and then the seeds disperse. How interesting is that? That is very, very interesting. Candelabra flower. I used to know the scientific name, but it's lost my mind, unfortunately. But now there's also another plant, that one over here. Oh, Olivia, wow, that is a very difficult question for me to answer. Wow, there are many, many different wildflower out here, but they don't always grow every year. So sometimes you'll find that, rains come along and conditions are perfect, that some of the flowers will grow, but maybe next year and the year after it's not going to grow. So it's a very difficult question for me to answer. But during the spring months, then yes, you'll find that there's a lot of wildflowers out here. But to give you an exact number, Olivia, unfortunately I won't be able to. But let's have a look at this sweet thorn that's over here.
Andrew.
Burrows that I've noticed out.
Andrew.
Yeah, come closer, yeah? Come to this one.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Have a look at this one. Have a look over here. Look at these thorns over here. Okay. What I like about this plant, and I'm not seeing any examples here at the moment, but often enough you find that sometimes the thorns on this plant are very, very swollen. What happens is that there's a wasp out here that wants to lay its eggs somewhere. But with the environment and all the other animals, where are the eggs going to be safe? So the wasp has learned that this little thorn is a perfect place to put its eggs. So it stings the plant at the base over here. Boop. Now bear in mind that venom from wasps is made of protein. So when it stings this plant over here, it doesn't harm the plant, but rather pumps it with the protein, and therefore the thorn needs to grow. It will grow, expand. And this little thorn can get sometimes almost as thick as my pinky. When that happens, a cavity in the inside starts to form, and then from there the wasp lays its eggs inside there, and then it's secured by this nice little thorn over here. And then when those larvae actually start to hatch, then you'll find that the larvae will actually feed on the inner part of this thorn over here. Then the wasp goes away, and the larvae sort of thrive and they grow and they fly away. But then you still have a thorn here with a natural cavity in the middle. And this is where you have a few species of ants. One of them namingly is the cocktail ant, will go in there, also lay eggs, larvae hatches, and then that larvae feeds on the inside of the thorn. In return, imagine I'm a browser and I'm eating this plant and I'm stripping it. The plant can't run away. And so it relies on the wasp to either sting the browser or the ants to climb on the face of the browser, sting it or bite it and make it go away. Very interesting. Symbiosis happening every single day and everywhere that we're looking at over here. But yeah, so that is a wrap. We are heading towards the end of the Escape to Nature experience. I hope that everybody had a good time, that you all learnt, because that is the most important part. And we look forward to seeing you out in the bush again. Thanks for joining us. Take care.